Hey, this is Mrs. Freeman, and this is lesson 3.2 for Pre Algebra. Today we're going to talk about the slope of a line. So go ahead and label your notes page the slope of a line. Lesson 3.2. Pause me if you need to. And here is your warm-up for the day. I want you to write these fractions in simplest form. If you've got a scientific calculator, they will do that for you. Just use the fraction button and type in these fractions, hit enter. They will automatically put them in simplest form for you. Okay, if you do not have a scientific calculator yet, I highly suggest that you get one of those. You are absolutely allowed to use a scientific calculator in the 8th grade, and you will be from here on out. They do fractions for you. They convert fractions to decimals. They do a lot of the hard things that you have to do by hand normally. You don't have to do them by hand anymore. So buy you one at Walmart. They're about $10 to $12. And then you'll actually use it in high school too. So go ahead and pause this video while you do that, and then come back and we'll do them together. Okay, number one, if you type that into the calculator, it's just going to give you 3. Number 2 is going to give you 2/7. Number 3 is going to be 2/5. 4 is going to be 5/4. 5 is going to be 2/3. And 6 is going to be 4/3 or 1 1/3. Either one is fine. So I should have put or 1 1/4 on this one. Either way. Alright, so let's talk about some vocabulary. The slope of a line is a ratio of the change in y, which is the rise, to the change in x, which is the run. So you have 3 vocabulary words here. The slope, which is rise over run. And then rise is the change in y, and run is the change in x. So go ahead and write that definition and then circle or highlight those 3 words to show you that those are our 3 vocab words. So I can find the slope between any 2 points. So this right here is an ordered pair, and this right here is another ordered pair. And I can do that by, if I graph them, I can just count the rise over run, or I can use this formula if I just have the ordered pairs. So this formula right here you need to write down in your notes because you're definitely going to need it. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is the slope formula. Not something that you have to memorize. It will be given to you on any test that you have to use it, but you do have to know what it means, and it looks a little bit confusing, so we're going to talk about it today. Okay, slope is also known as the rate of change. So if I talk to you about the rate of change, that's just the slope. It is the measure of the steepness of the line. So how steep my line is. I could have 2 diagonal lines, and this one right here is a lot steeper than this one right here. So this one is a little bit steeper. So these 2 lines would have different slopes. So to find the slope of a line, you find the ratio of the change in y, which is the vertical change, or the rise, to the change in x, which is the horizontal change, or the run. There are 4 kinds of slope that we're going to learn about. A positive slope is uphill. A negative slope is downhill. So on your notes, I would write positive is uphill, negative is downhill. Then we have two other kinds that we're going to learn about later, and that is a undefined slope, which is straight up and down, and zero slope, which is lying flat. Okay, I'm going to show you a video here in just a second that's going to help you remember those a lot easier, but those are the four types of slopes I can have: positive, negative, undefined, or zero. So example 1 says find the slope of the line. So on this one, I'm given my two ordered pairs. So let's just do it both ways. If I counted the rise over the run, the rise is how far I go up or down to get to the next point. So if I start from this point, I always start from the point on the left. I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to this point, which it says right here. And then I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my slope in this case would be 5/6. That's my rise over my run. And I'm always starting from the point on the left. So in B, if I'm starting from the point on the left, I am rising 3, but I'm not actually rising, I'm going down. So I'm doing the opposite. So that's going to be a -3. And I'm running 2. So that's a +2. Now notice that this line is uphill and I have a positive slope, and this line is downhill and I have a negative slope. Okay, let's try the two ordered pairs that it gave us with this formula. So I have an ordered pair here, -3, -1. And I have another one up here, +3, +4. Okay, I can go ahead and designate these. Let's make this x1 and y1 and this x2 and y2. And then I'm going to plug them into this formula up here. So y2 minus y1, y2 is 4, minus y1 is -1, over x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is -3. If I solved this, I would get 5/6. Okay, so there are two ways to find the slope. You can either count the rise over run like we did right here, or you can solve the slope formula like we did right here. Sometimes you won't have a choice and you'll have to do the slope formula. But if it gives you the graph, it's kind of easier, I think, to just count your rise over your run. If I were to plug in B into the slope formula, let's see if we get -3/2. My two ordered pairs are -1, 1, and 1, -2. Now it doesn't matter which one I make x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. Over here I made the first set x1 and y1, so over here let's make the second set x1, y1. And we'll make this one x2, y2. Now when I plug these in, y2 minus y1 would be 1 minus -2 over -1 minus 1. That's going to give me 3 over -2, which is -3/2. Same answer again. So again, either way you want to do it is great. Okay, example 2 says find the slope of this line. Well, if I were to plug in these 2 points here, I can't really count my rise over my run on this line, because if I were to go up, I can't really go up, and I can't really go down, because my other point's over here, and it's even with this point. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug it into the slope formula and see what happens. Here's my two ordered pairs it gives me, -1, 5, and 6, 5. And let's just make this one x1, y1, x2, y2. When I plug these in here, I'm going to get 5 minus 5, because y2 minus y1 over x2 is 6 minus x1, which is -1. That's going to give me 0 over 7. 0 divided by 7 is just 0. So this one has a slope of 0. Remember at the beginning I told you there were 4 types of slopes that we were going to learn about, and one of them was 0, and it was if a line was horizontal. So I had a horizontal line, my slope was 0. So you can just remember that horizontal lines have a slope of 0, or if you forget and you solve the equation, you're going to get 0 anyway, so it's all good. Let's look at this one. This one's straight up and down. So I told you there were 4 types of slope. The straight up and down was called undefined. Let's see what happens when I plug this into the slope formula. So here's my 2 ordered pairs, 4, 6, and 4, 2. x1, y1, x2, y2. Again, it doesn't matter which one I make 1 or 2. As long as I keep the same, so I couldn't make this x1, y2, that doesn't make sense. So if I make this x1, I have to make this y1, etc. Okay, so if I plug these into the equation now, y2 is 2 minus y1, which is 6, over x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 4. When I subtract here, I'm going to get -4 over 0. If you typed in -4 divided by 0 in the calculator, it would say error, because you can't divide by 0 in math. So that is what makes this undefined. Dividing by 0 is illegal. It's like the one thing that you can never, ever, ever do in math. It's illegal. It breaks math. So here's a way to remember that. If you have a 0 on the top, it's okay. Because over here I had a 0 on the top. And that was okay. My answer was just 0. Because 0 divided by 7 was 0. So if you have a 0 on the top, it's okay. Now, if your 0 is on the bottom, that's a no-no. Okay, so 0 on the top is okay. 0 on the bottom is a no-no. That's undefined. Example 4, the points in the table lie on a line. How can you find the slope of the line from the table? Well, this table is giving me 4 ordered pairs. And I know that I can find the slope as long as I have 2 ordered pairs. So that means I can choose any 2 ordered pairs from this table, plug them into that equation, and I'm going to get the slope. So let's just pick 2 random ones. I'm going to pick these 2, just because I want to. 1, 8, and 7, 4. And let's use those and plug them into the slope formula. So the slope formula is x1, y1, x2, y2. y2 minus y1 would be 4 minus 8. x2 is 7. x1 is 1. So when I work this out, I get -4 over 6, or -2/3. Because -4 over 6 would reduce to -2/3. Okay? Just so you'll believe me that it doesn't matter which 2 you pick, let's pick these 2. I'm going to make this x1, y1, x2, y2, and do the formula again. y2 minus y1 would be 6 minus 8 over x2 minus x1. 6 minus 8 is -2, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So I did get the same answer. It does not matter which 2 you pick. All of these points are on the same line, which means all of them are going to have the same slope whenever you plug them into the formula. Okay, so that's what you're doing today. You're finding the slope. You're going to use the slope formula a lot, or if it just gives you a graph, like it did in example 1, then I can just count the rise over the run. I'm going to start from the point over on the left. I'm going to count how many I rise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over how many I run, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I'm always starting from the point on the left, I'm always going to run from left to right. But my rise can be up or down, and that's going to tell me whether I'm positive or negative. So from this one, I'm rising 1, 2, 3, but since I went down, it's -3, and I'm running 2. Okay, notice again that this one is uphill, therefore my slope is positive, and I did get a positive number. This one is downhill, therefore my slope is negative, and I did get a negative number. Okay, here's a couple ways that you can remember your different types of slope. This guy over here is called Mr. Slope Guy. He's got a positive slope over here on his eyebrow and a negative slope over here on his other eyebrow. Then his nose is straight up and down, and that's an undefined slope. And his mouth is straight across, and that is a 0 slope. I'm going to show you a video that's going to help you remember it even more.
Welcome to the adventure of Slope Dude. Meet Slope Dude. He loves to ski. We are going to follow him, and he'll teach us some important aspects of slope. This is the course he's skiing today. Again, what he says will teach us about slope. You need to remember that Slope Dude always skis toward the right or eastward. When he starts out, he's going uphill. It's hard work. He says puff, puff, positive as he goes up the mountainside. Puff, puff, positive. Puff, puff, positive. Puff, puff, positive. Now he's at the top. It was puff, puff, positive all the way up the mountain. But now he can look forward to the downhill. On the way down the mountain, he says, nice, negative, nice, negative. And now, after the downhill, he's in for the hardest part of the ski run, the long, flat part. He says, this is 0 fun. This is 0 fun. This is 0 fun. This is 0 fun. And as he finishes the flat part, he doesn't see well ahead, and all of a sudden, he comes to the edge of a cliff. It's straight down. So frightened is he that he says the worst curse word possible in math and in algebra. Undefined. This has been the Adventure of Slope Dude. Remember always what he said during his ski trip. Up the hill or up the slope, he said, puff, puff, positive. On his downhill run, he said, nice, negative. On the long, flat part of the course, he said, this is 0 fun. And finally, when he went over the vertical cliff and went straight down, he yelled the worst curse word of math and algebra, undefined. The uphill is a slope with a positive number, the downhill is a slope with a negative number, the flat part is a slope of 0, and the straight up and down or vertical part is undefined. This has been the Adventure of Slope Dude. Thanks for viewing.
Get the Google app.
Alright, so that was Slope Dude with a little Google ad at the end. So, when he was going up the hill, he was saying puff, puff, positive. That is a positive slope. Down the hill was nice, negative. That is a negative slope. When he was skiing on the flat ground, he was saying this is 0 fun because that's a 0 slope. And then he fell straight down and he yelled undefined. So those are your 4 types of slopes. That's the easiest way to remember it, I think, is by watching Slope Dude. That's just a YouTube video. If you ever need to see it again, just search Slope Dude and you will find it. Alright, so here's our summary of the day. I have 4 types of slopes. I have a positive slope, uphill. I have a negative slope, downhill. That means that whenever I count my rise over my run of 2 points on this positive slope, I better get a positive number. When I count my rise over run of 2 points on this negative slope, I better get a negative number. This one I can't really count rise over run. It's just flat, and it is 0. And this one I can't count rise over run either. It is undefined. If I were to count rise over run on this 0, I can't rise at all. So I'm rising 0, and then I'm running maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever. So it's 0 over 5, which is 0. Over here, I'm rising a bunch. So we'll just say 3, but I'm not running at all. So that's where I get that 0 on the bottom, and that's where it's undefined. Okay, so try out your big ideas. You're just finding slope. You're going to use the slope formula on some. You're going to just count rise over run on some. If it gives you the graph, count rise over run. Now, the first few questions on big ideas are graph this line, and it's what we did in 3.1. So you're going to make an XY table, and you're going to graph using the ordered pairs that you come up with. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.